Hello, Cancer. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you're doing all right. It's a nice rainy day here in Los Angeles, so off to a little bit later start today, but all is well here. A little bit of love from Apollo, who was nosing around here and wanted to say hi. I'm going to put him in his bed, and we're going to get started today. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and as you probably know, if you're a return viewer, we're going to be taking a look at your monthly forecast, which basically will take us through the next 6 to 8 weeks. And this is going to be a great way for you to navigate through, if you're watching live, the end of Mercury retrograde, and also just to embrace all opportunities in front of you. I always like to remind folks that basically free will conquers all. I'm here to help you see the opportunities, basically give you a guide map, and you can decide where to go from there. The way that this is organized is right here. We're going to begin with channeled messages. Your totem today is a mouse, and it carries with it some very interesting messages. It's both a kind of crafty, sneaky sort of totem, but it's also one of abundance. So we'll talk about kind of both sides of the coin today. A very appropriate one to be coming through during retrograde or on the heels of retrograde. Anyway, after that, we'll get into the Celtic Cross, and then we'll dig into the areas of health, wealth, love, and destiny. You can always use this for Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. I will specifically go into Sun, Rising, and Moon a little bit later. If you enjoy what you see here, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button. Also opt into bell notifications occasionally. I try different timelines for the beginnings. I think Mondays I will start a little bit later because I do a very long reading on Sundays. And it takes a lot energetically out of me. When I'm getting up on Mondays, I'm like, I think I just need a little, like one extra hour. And so I gave myself that extra hour so I could be fully present for you today. But anyway, opt into bell notifications because sometimes I also do a Mercury retrograde or a solar or lunar reading, and those are unannounced. So anyway, you can also join me on social media. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh on all social media platforms, the major ones anyway. Please be mindful of that, especially on TikTok where there are a ton of fake ones, and I'm doing my best to try to report them, but TikTok doesn't really get back to me. So when in doubt, just go to my website and click on the link, or again, you can go on the About page here on YouTube, and the official links are all there as well. Just a quick note, I don't give private readings. I see some people that will ask again and again in comments. No, I basically want to show up more for you here. So no private readings, no direct messages, no friend invites, no second or third accounts. So just be safe and use common sense. You can also, if you want to show love and support, do it here in a live using SuperChat or SuperStickers. That's the best way. That's the official way. And there we go. Let's get into the reading, folks. All right, so we're going to talk about channeled messages first. Let me get the presentation pulled up here, and we're going to talk about the mouse, or mice in general, here as we go through it. So in my dreams, I just saw a mouse. It kind of looked to me like it was sneaking around or playing dead, but it was not. It was just sort of like waiting. So I was like, all right, we're gonna talk about mice today. Okay, so they're cute. Maybe not the most loved of all the furry, rodents that are around, but what rodent really is. But I try to look at positive and then also sort of areas of opportunity when it comes to all nature, because there's positives and negatives with all totems. So I always try to find both. We'll start with the positive. I'm impressed at how they can thrive just about anywhere. They are athletic, they can jump, they can climb, they can swim. In fact, as I was doing research, and this made me, I guess they can jump a foot in the air, which explains how they can kind of get into the closets and the cabinets and stuff like that. So they're like little tiny acrobats, aren't they? But that's kind of cool. It basically says that you can, because the energy of the totem relates to the sign and relates to what you can do. So if you can reach and get into places or opportunities that others can't, that's a good thing. They can also fit through small places. So kind of like the size of I guess it was what was it, a pencil, about the width of a pencil, a little bit longer, kind of like a coin, maybe like a dime or a quarter, but the width of a pencil. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So they can basically find a way into something. They can reach new heights and reach things that other people can't reach. And so, believe it or not, this is very magician-like energy. It's a make it work anywhere sort of attitude. And you can do that as well. So channel that inner magician and think, I've got the tools to make this happen. I'm going to make this happen. They do enjoy clutter. And as an area of opportunity with this totem, it's saying when and where you can do it, clear things up, clean things up in your life. This is, again, super appropriate on the heels of a retrograde. We'll be out of it around the 18th or so just about 10 more days, a little less than that if you're watching it live. And then there's a post-shadow that happens for a little bit. Most of February should be fine, but we still may be kind of looking at areas of our life where there's opportunity for cleaning. It's not just your house. If we're looking at spaces, it's home, office, and car, places you spend a lot of time. It's also finances and debts, like Seven of Pentacles energy. And then, of course, people around you, any sort of toxicity, and anything you're holding on to. One thing that I was picking up in dreams was, and I've been feeling this for a week or so, and it feels like this is the thing in this retrograde period to let go of, and it's anger. And anger comes through sometimes delayed and in weird ways. So it can be anger that, someone, even if you're happy for someone, you're like, why didn't that happen to me? It can be anger that someone left you, whether they, moved on to a new relationship, there was a divorce, or even in death. You're like, why am I here behind and I have to clean up the mess? Anger can kind of take on so many different forms that I would encourage all of us, not just Cancer, but everybody, to kind of look at that, because it's been a common theme through all of the readings that I've been doing this month. I keep getting this undercurrent of that, anger or contempt or frustration. So once you understand why it's there or what triggered it, then you can kind of heal that a little bit. But sadness and relationships as well, kind of cleaning them up. So I put the Tower here because the Tower comes through when sometimes we have to feel that little charge of energy, even if it's not so fun, to help us get out of that. And it usually leads to much better things. So get ahead of that, ride the wave of change. You should be fine. The main thing here is taking control of it. It's almost like flipping the Tower upside down. And, it's like an old box that you might have in the closet. You have to turn it upside down, see what's inside, figure out what you're going to put in the trash receptacle or recycling bin, and then the rest of it, you decide what to do with. Okay. Enough said with that. This is also a very interesting energy because it is one of abundance. So mice can multiply fast. Now, if we just look at the multiplication energy of it, that can be positive. That can also be something that may not be optimal. So when we look at debt or clutter or problems, that can multiply, but it can also be opportunity, abundance, good word of mouth. So we want to take the multiplication and put it in the positive, and that's going to require organization, the Chariot. This is like a middle management card, and it's saying everything that we just talked about. I'm going to get rid of some of this, but I'm really going to focus on managing this, moving this in the right direction, very organized. So put on your organization hat and focus on things and get the multiplication energy in the positive. And that's the main thing here, because it can go either way. So if things are not paid attention to, all the stuff, especially financial things and business matters and legal matters, we want to organize that, get it sorted, and then focus on positive multiplication. So that's all going to be management and managing of affairs. Okay. Mice also represent all things small. And so it's saying don't overlook the small stuff. But the other piece of this, sometimes I look at the opposite of the totem. So I think it's all about expansion for you. But there may be this feeling like I'm just, it's just me or whatever. So we're going to focus on instead expanding outward, using your voice, not the little peep of the mouse, thinking bigger or big, taking action, being seen. Being seen is key because the mice are sneaky. They're kind of hiding. So we want to bring it out. I'm trying to kind of like heal or elevate the totem. And I look at some of the things that we don't like. And then it basically shows us what we can work on for ourselves. To that end, the sneaky piece is the number one thing that I would actually kind of attribute to a mouse. When you least expect it, you see it kind of moving around, right? So it is absolutely the Seven of Swords. If I did an animal deck, for instance, I probably would feature mice on this, 7 mice, or a big old mouse. So they take what they want. They often sneak around in the shadows, and they do this without any regard for others. It's basically a self-serving totem in that respect. So look in your life and think, is there anyone or anything that represents that attribute of the mouse? Someone who just takes without giving, someone who doesn't say the truth, who kind of just It basically shows up when they want to as well. It's also reminding us to be the best version of ourselves possible. No one's perfect. No one's a saint. That's why we're incarnating. That's why we're learning things. But we strive to be the best. And if we can always give the best possible, even on a rainy day, then that's all that you can ask of yourself, the universe can ask of yourself, and it's going to be the best day possible. It may not be something that you imagine, but that's the key. When I was going through a really challenging situation, it was like in work and in life and everything, and it was a long time ago, but it was a job that I really didn't like, and it was a Reiki sort of mentor that I had. She said, "Nicholas, I know you don't like the state of affairs right now, especially like what you're doing in your career." And again, I was much, much younger, but she said, you got to give it 100%, or you have to give your best. Just give your best. She said, because at the end of your day, first of all, people are depending on you. And this is a culmination of your spirit. So if you're only coming in and doing half the work, it's not worth it. Get what you can out of this experience and don't let other people down. And it was a little nudge that I needed, because I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want them to have a headache because I'm not having a good day. So I was like, yeah, I'll sort it out. And she said, and then find a new job if you're not happy. It was good advice. It was motherly advice and a kick in the behind that I needed. So I was like, yeah, you're right. Because if I was employing or depending on someone and they had a bad attitude or had a bad day and didn't do what they were supposed to, it makes my life more difficult. And that's actually energetically not good. You're creating negative karma in that way. So I get it. I've been there. I've absolutely been there. I've been in places where it's sort of like soul wrenching and you're just not happy. But I still tried to be the best that I could. And then I got out. That was another wake up call. I thought, all right, let's stop this cycle. So it's instead of kind of like, especially when there's people around you, then they're okay with it. Then it's you, and then it's your turn to kind of change it. So there you go. That's the best way I can put it, is basically take it as a wake up call and still do your best as you exit. So you're leaving with a clean slate and you don't have to repeat that again. So be authentic, be honest, hold others to the same accountability. So if someone in your life isn't showing up the way that they need to, a good way to kind of figure out what's going on is just check in and say, are you okay? Is something up? Because this isn't like you. And then if there isn't, just say, well, if everything's okay, it's not okay what's going on here. So I need to know, can I depend on you? Are you in or are you out? And so you can do it in a lot of ways where it's not making them feel bad. You're making it more about like a team sort of thing and concern, and then just basically, hey, you signed up for this. This is a contract. You've got to do this. So I'm asking you. I don't want to have to tell you, I'm asking you. So find a way to be the best mentor, best teacher, best nudge for others, and maybe you need the nudge too, but either way, it'll be okay. All of the tricky cards in tarot and even the tricky totems, they come through to elevate us. They're saying, this is something that's going on. I'm going to show it to you in a visual. Do you like this, or do you want to change this? And we are co-creating with the creator constantly, okay? So you can always change it. It's a choose your own adventure. You have the ability right now to thrive in anything that's placed in your path. You have this acrobatic energy of the mouse. You probably need to look at some areas of your life and think, I can let that go. I'm going to focus on this. So decluttering and also managing things so that we can focus on the positive multiplication of energy, abundance, not sort of issues or problems. Speaking up and going, going bigger, just as my throat was kind of clogged up. Go bigger and make sure that you're speaking. Don't kind of reduce the energy. We don't want to contract. We want to basically expand, and then be the best version of yourself. And that's all the universe is asking of you in this moment in time. And I hope that helps kick things off on a good sort of start for all of us. If you just joined, perfect timing. We're just about ready to get into the Celtic Cross. Before we look at the Celtic Cross, let's see which deck you've chosen for me. I'll actually show you a few from each of these in case you're not familiar, and then I'll get started. Okay, so let me look at it in the order that I provided it for all of you. So we have the Greenwich Tarot first. This one is a really cool deck. It's very nature-based and magic infused per the title, and kind of deviates a little bit from Rider-Waite-Smith on some areas, but it's very cool. It's not hard to read or interpret by any matter. Sun and Moon, just like it sounds, you're going to see a lot of solar and lunar energy in it. Lots of moons, lots of suns. This is a really cool one because the imagery on it is kind of very friendly. So if I ever read for someone and they don't like tarot imagery, I usually use this deck because it's fun to look at. Okay, and then this is Glastonbury Tarot. It's a discontinued deck. It has an Arthurian vibe to it. It basically, it's like 50-50. It has some Rider-Waite-Smith sort of sensibilities to it, but then again, some of it is from like King Arthur. And then we have True Heart Intuitive, which is currently in the lead, which is an excellent choice. This is by Rachel True. The deck is lovely. It is Rider-Waite-Smith basically derived, but it has a few very unique takes on some of the major and minor arcana cards. So I'm going to end the poll now that you've seen all of these. And it looks like, unless there's some sort of last minute disappointment, it's going to be the True Heart Intuitive. Yep, it won by about 2% or 3%. Okay, let's get started, folks. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you. We're going to be looking at the month ahead for February, but you can actually apply the knowledge now. A lot of the energy of the totem is very appropriate for a retrograde period. Okay, so welcome. Let me go ahead and give the cards a shuffle and let's begin. I hope you're all doing well, by the way. It's good to see you. We've already got the World and the Tower. Nice synchronistic energy already. Death and transformation there. We had a card that flew off the table and I wanted to grab that as well. All right, let me just take a quick drink and then we're going to look at all of these. All right. So what I like about what I'm seeing here is it's all about change. We have death coming through in a couple of different spots here, right at the center. Again, making big changes here. We talked about the tower when I was looking at the totem as well, so it's definitely coming through there. Overall, we're ending on positive notes, but I like that you got both the World and Judgment, and they're kind of flipped in the positioning of them, and we'll talk about that when we get into it. But overall, the energy looks really, really good. So the Wolf Spirit is the one that flew off the deck, so we'll talk more about that as I get into health. All right, let's begin, folks. We'll start off with your Catalyst card. We have the Orphan card in reverse, which is a reminder here that you're not alone. Like, legitimately, we could just say the opposite of the Orphan. So some of you, though, might be going through a moment where you need some inner child healing. So maybe something from the past made you feel like you were an outsider, like you were forgotten, or again, maybe needing to kind of pull the energy inward, the contracting energy instead of the expanding energy. And as I said, as we look at the opportunity karmically and energetically, it is about expansion. So this one is saying don't contract, expand. This one is saying you've already done the work. You're already bigger, better, and more prepared than you think you are. So two synchronistic cards showing opposite sides of the same coin. And for some of this, it's just saying ask for help. or reach for what you need or for what you want. I think of the Oliver Twist sort of thing. Can I have some more? And even in that, we're taught that if you ask, it's going to be this big deal. In life, if you don't ask for what it is that you need, if you don't speak up, you never know if you're going to get something. And it's not always going to be that dramatic scene there. So this is saying, I'm not the orphan. I am worthy of this. And if you're not receptive to that or aware of that, then this, whatever this is, a partnership or an engagement, this isn't right then. I'm not going to feel like the outsider in something that I'm putting 100% in, okay? So let's take a look at the cards here, and we'll periodically revisit the orphan message as needed. I like your central card here. We have the Eight of Pentacles. Let me just pull these over a little bit so you can see everything better. Okay, so the Eight of Pentacles is a really good card for learning and for doing a great job, kind of paying attention to all the small details. So we get a very kind of artistic vibe in this one. And it's always sort of an artisan card, including the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith one. You'll see someone working on one of the Eight Pentacles, and typically they're going up like this, almost like up the tree or up the building or something. So with this, what are you building? What kind of energy are you putting into it? Are you enjoying it? Like, is your heart and soul kind of in what you're doing? If it isn't, then this is again kind of an opportunity for you to look at this and think, what am I doing? How am I spending my time? Am I getting something out of this that really is worthwhile? I double checked to make sure it was reversed. So with the reversal of this, a couple of things. First of all, it usually would, I could infer from that it would be time to revise, revisit, or just kind of like tweak something a little bit. And so you're always allowed to change your mind. That's one thing that I would say. You're allowed to change your mind, change direction, or change something, especially if it's in its incomplete form. For those of you that are thinking of going to school, the Eight of Pentacles is perfect for training and learning and any sort of skill acquisition. And it can mean that I thought I wanted this, but after I started it, I want this. So I'm getting a little bit of a directional change, or for the things that are written or curriculum based, maybe a change in also kind of like what you had started. So you're either writing and revising something, or you're changing course a little bit. As long as you're behind it and you like it, good. The reason it's so important to do this is because something isn't serving you at the moment. So we have what constitutes a dead end. And the death card can be stagnation. It can also be an opening to something new. So it's saying, although maybe this didn't work, if we just change things, this is revision, if we change it, then we see expansion. You're thinking bigger than the current situation allows you to think. So you could be in a place where basically there's a glass ceiling, a lack of imagination, or a lack of support for that kind of expansive thought. And this is just saying, I've got to go bigger. I'm even just looking at I think it's a marigold, basically, the marigold behind Death's head. And it's saying, we need to grow, we need to move on. And not everybody can see that. So that's something some of you have to kind of look at is, have you outgrown a situation? All I see is continued growth here. We go from the Eight of Pentacles ultimately to the Queen of Pentacles, but if you stay here, it's going to be tough to get to that Queen of Pentacles. There's a lot of competition for some of you right now too. So you're in a place where there may be a lot of voices too, and they're just not, they're not sure how to kind of like place you. So in places of work, there might just be too many people with the same title. And again, they may just not want new ideas. So the Death card in and of itself is actually quite auspicious, particularly if it's crossing something. It's saying, make a change. Go within. And what we see here is almost the equivalent of an old-fashioned Russian doll, where you open one up, there's another one, and that's basically what our soul is like, even though the picture's a little bit graphic. But that's kind of what it is. If you keep going, the onion skin keeps going and going and going. Our soul is kind of infinite. It does live forever. It's so interesting that we're always fascinated with movies about immortals, like vampires and superheroes that live forever, because we're not a vampire, but we're like a superhero that keeps coming back and keeps learning. The only challenging thing is we don't remember. We remember what's important, but we don't remember everything. And so this is sort of like a soul recollection and saying, hey, I'm worth more than this, or I need more than this, or this has served its purpose. And I don't have to leave this body or this lifetime to change the path. And that's the big message here. You always have a chance to reinvent at any age, at any stage. Obviously, the earlier you do it, the better, but you can still do it at any stage in life. If I had, and I don't have regrets, but if I could go back and coach a younger version of myself, I just would have gone onto this path sooner. But I also would have lacked certain life experiences that have given me context and patience and understanding of why I am where I am and why I need to work hard at certain things, because I know what the alternative is. So there are no mistakes, and there is no right time for any one person. You're going to find your own right time and right opening, and that might be today. You can make some change. Make a change or move towards change today. Death wants to help you either navigate or completely avoid the tower energy. So you can say, I'm going to rebuild, I'm going to reimagine, and I'm not going to be waiting for someone else to tell me if, when, or how to do that. I'm going to own the change. And I know it's easier than said sometimes, but it's really important. Here's the good news, folks. You've done the work on a soul level. When we go into the deep past, we have the world. Now, this is a fascinating card to come through in this order, because the world is basically showing me that you know on a soul level what the purpose is or what the destination is. You may also know that something is already done. So you may be in the middle of a relationship, a job, or some other situation where you think to yourself, you don't need to ask me. You're either very gung-ho on starting or stopping something. The acknowledgement and the acceptance of it, which is in the destiny, not the destiny position, but the outcome, is waiting for you to accept it. So it's already done or it's already started, but the universe is like, do you accept this? Are you ready to rise to this occasion? That's literally what judgment is. You're rising up, phoenix from the ashes, reinventing yourself. Here's the fire. Here's the phoenix. So something is done, but it requires you to accept that it served its purpose. And that you're better because of this exiting or moving from your life. And that you aren't a one-trick pony, and that, like a cat, you still have a few more lives. I don't know which life you're on, but cats have 9 lives symbolically. So you've got more reinvention opportunities in front of you. So embrace that. That's basically the summary here is, you're far from your 9th life. You've got a lot more. You're Phoenix rising this month, okay? And some sort of form of that will probably be the title for today. So something is already begun or something's already ended, but you have to accept and then embrace that and then move into the change. This is the change energy here. Cleaning up the messes, exactly what I talked about earlier. Financial messes, emotional messes, and then things in your life that you've just been avoiding. This is just taking ownership of it, cleaning it up, and then finding your new footing here with the Temperance Angel. So this is you just deciding, what is it that I want right now? Where do I stand? Finding the inner balance as well. And deciding, am I in or am I out? And that's something that this card always represents for me too. It's also very closely aligned to April, the way I read anyway. And so this is right around the corner, 2 months' time, some of this stuff is going to pan out. So you're going to embrace a change. You're going to kind of like accept that change, see that that change is opening up new horizons for you, and that whatever it is that you are going to step into, you have found your footing. You're also being guided. This is an angel. You have not just one angel, by the way. You have 3 angels in this deck. You may not recognize all of them, but you have the angel of death, change. You have Temperance, which is an angel here, and you have Archangel Gabriel, which is calling you and saying, are you listening? So we have 3 angels, one at the center, one with where your head is at, and one where your outcome is. You're fine. It's change and movement, but you're guided. You have this great spiritual kind of army behind you saying, let's do this. It's just a matter of acceptance. It's different for each of us. Again, sometimes it's easier to stay in something, even if it's broken, even if we're in a place where someone's not recognizing our value, because that could be what's going on here too. So when you're open, and that's really where we're moving next to the Princess or the Page of Cups, when you're open to new things and saying, okay, let's try this out. She's looking at that chalice and saying, I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And that is a very good page-like energy, because pages have to listen. They don't just speak, they are the conduits. So they're taking some information from here and they're applying it here. Mediumship or magician energy is a part of a page. And again, it's the in-between. You can't have cotton in your ears and be a page. You can't have a block over your heart. And this page is saying, open your heart and just see how something fits you. It's like going on, exactly that, going into a fitting room. You pull a few things off the rack. They kind of look good, but something that you thought would fit perfectly may be too tight. Something that you thought may be too long cuts just exactly where it needs to. You have to try things on. Visually, you're not sure how it's going to suit you. So give something a shot. Someone's interested in you perhaps as well. So for those of you looking for love, this is a very auspicious card. For everybody, it's auspicious. It's positive because it says people are looking at you much like that chalice and they're thinking, maybe this is the person that I'm thinking for XYZ. They want to see if you're open too. The cup goes both ways. All right, it's typically good news, the Page of Cups in the upright position in the near future where this one is located. So what we see here, again, I'm just summarizing it and then we're going to move to the fun stuff here. Something's already ended, or something's about to expand and begin because death and the world go both ways. But you need to find your footing. The Tower and Temperance are working to help you clear the old and find your footing, and then you just have to be open. That's basically everything that we saw here. And there's something here where you need to be valued more for your learnings, for your wisdom, and it's not happening, or you haven't had that sort of like big aha moment where you're at. So death is touching all of these sort of center cards here, and it's saying you've got to change, you've got to move. All right, now let's take a look at you. You're going to be fine. This is a card of being able to take care of yourself, defend or fend for yourself. I love that they showed sort of a female warrior here with that shield, and all of the flaming arrows hit the shield. She's unbothered. She's not going through any problems. And the main thing here is to know when to hold up that shield and when to let your defenses down. When it comes to love and opportunity, she may have to pull the shield down and say, I've been through some things, but I'm also open to the world surprising me in a very positive way. I can't shut my heart off just because I was hurt. You know, it's like that old, somewhat trite, but very still apropos phrase. It's better to have loved and lost than to not have loved at all. If we don't allow our heart to expand, to explore, to receive love, then yes, it hurts. Yes, it sucks when we lose someone, whether it's figuratively or actually like they pass away. But it's so much better to have had the experience of loving, right? And being loved and being appreciated. So I think one of the things here is just to lick the wounds a little bit and to allow on some levels, with your own comfort level of how much you're letting people in, just putting the shield down a little bit and saying, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to try. And you're going to use your skills and your knowledge to recognize red flags or green lights, however you want to see it. And I think that's the key thing here. Know that as you really start to understand who you are and what you stand for, which is a big part of your past energy here, you don't have to defend your decisions to anybody. You don't owe them an apology or an explanation. This is in respect to, like, if you love a certain person and your family doesn't approve of that, if you want to change your career trajectory, if you want to move to a different country, if you want to do something for self-improvement, if it's for your best interest and it's not harming anyone and it's in alignment with your soul, then go for it, you know? And if eventually people find a way to understand where you're coming from, and if they don't, then you've basically just energetically shifted into a different level and they're stuck. And so you'll start to attract people of the same energy. Maybe you won't have as many, but maybe they'll be better quality. And that's kind of how I view it. When you level up +1, you're going to find different people, new level, new acquaintances, new opportunities. All right. In the environment, there could be a blessing in disguise. I always like to see the Four of Cups as a happy, an unexpected sort of gift that the universe wants to provide. So with the card in reverse, it's saying everything that we just talked about, comparing yourself to others or trying to meet up to others' expectations, you're kind of over that. I like that we see the universe or the higher self peeking in on progress and saying, have I gotten everything that I need to out of this moment in time? That's another way that you can look at this. And by the way, we have a little rose coming out of the cup there. And roses are interesting because they're picky and finicky sort of flowers. They need just the right pH balance. They need just the right amount of rain. You've got to prune them. They're very prone to aphids and other sort of, pests. You got to baby them a little bit. They're worth it though. Beautiful, fragrant, gorgeous flowers, but they require work and they have thorns. Or prickles more appropriately, I think. So things in life that are worth doing oftentimes take a little bit of work. Sometimes you get some scrapes and bumps and bruises, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I think it was still worth getting my hands dirty and getting those scrapes because I'm happy with the end result. So although you might be in the weeds in the moment, feeling all of that sort of frustration and irritation, this is saying peel back the veneer a little bit and see what's going on. What are you doing this for? And remember that you have more power, capability, etc. in this moment than you may give yourself credit for. Okay. Now let's see where it's all headed. As we look at hope, fears, and opportunity, we have a great card here. The penultimate card for Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles, basically showing, she's reversed, but we'll look at her upright. She's showing harmony in house, home, finances, relationships, development. I talked about the complementary energy of the mouse. I would say a very similar one is the rabbit. It multiplies. So we're getting that multiplicity, that, the ability to kind of go further, farther, faster. Now, things could, again, kind of get unwieldy or out of your control, so you want to stay on top of things. So the Queen of Pentacles reverse is saying manage your own affairs first, particularly your house, your home, your finances, and things that are closest to you and your family. Focus on you. Don't worry about others when she's reversed. And this also applies to people in your life that may not be ready to receive your assistance. Keep an open door, but you don't have to pull them in the door, right? Kind of defeats the purpose of what a maternal card would want, which is for you to find your way there. So good mothers, good father figures basically empower, but they don't demand and they don't force. So that's a really good way to look at this. And you can see that she has two totems around her. We see the snake on her right, our left, and then we see on the other side the rabbit. So power and abundance, really aptly illustrated here. Okay. And then I think those are like roses in the corner as well. So all of that work paid off at the end of the day. This is also, not that you need it from me, it's from the cards and from Spirit, but it's encouragement and or permission to take care of yourself. When we look at the Mother card and it's about you and it's reversed or inverse, it's saying, all right, am I actually practicing what I'm preaching? Am I taking care of my mind, body, and my spirit? Do I want to take some of my finances and some of my resources and invest them in myself? Again, this could be in education. This could be in better health management, or maybe talking to a counselor of some sort, financial or mental health, or whatever it is that you're trying to work on. This is saying you're worth it. If you've worked hard, what are you saving the resources for except to kind of like build up and learn and take care of yourself? Okay. And that's that. One thing that's kind of interesting, and my guides are pointing out the correlation between these three cards. This can represent a home. This is home improvements. And this could be overdue home improvements. You may be looking at, should I stay or should I go, or should we renovate? This is very specific to homeowners. But if you do own a home, it does feel like the costs of renovation it may not be worth it. It may be worth selling and looking for something different. If you're trying to sell your house, you may need to do some renovations. Renovations are coming up. And typically, this has to do with structural elements of the house. So a roof, the four walls around you, or the foundation, the actual foundation. So do an inspection of the key areas of the house and make sure that you don't need to upgrade or repair anything of that nature. And it's about weatherproofing. We see the lightning bolt hitting there. So making sure that things are weatherproof, that the electrical stuff is good. It's basically all the things that are important, not the sort of like paint and the pretty stuff. It's really the bones. And of course, we've got death here showing that. How are the bones of the house? And if you're looking to buy, rent, or own, this is something that I was super picky with when I came into this place. Look at the bones and make sure that the bones look good. So again, the foundation, are there any cracks? The walls, if you knock on them, are they hard? Is there anything wrong with those? Just look at all of those things, and that's going to be important. Okay, enough with that. Let's focus now on your outcome, and it's a favorable card. Judgment is basically beating the odds. It's rising up from the ashes. It is a new start, and it's basically, again, we got these in reverse, not reverse, but like got them backwards, because it goes, we went 21, 22 instead, but 20 and 21. But basically you got the world in the back, and then for some reason, judgment at the outcome. So this is telling me it's just about acceptance this month, and it's also about realizing if something left, something better awaits, and you can easily get back to where you started. So you have this ability to reinvent, reimagine, and also just step into something that's been calling you for a while. So I don't know if you just needed to see it here, that it's okay, that it's happening, that you don't, there's nothing else to really gain from a situation, maybe other than perspective, because this is in the environment. It's looking at it from a different perspective. Once you do that, you're able to move on. Good things can happen. This is also a karmic reset. So for many of you, you've kind of learned a karmic lesson, and basically you have this capacity now to move in a new direction. And it's basically all about a reset for you this month. And I'm kind of excited about that for you, if you're open, if you're ready for it. We're going to move along now to the expanded forecast, where we look a little deeper at health, wealth, love, and destiny. With each of these categories, just a quick reminder, I'm not a substitute for any sort of advisor in finance, health, mental health, etc. I'm here basically to show you energetic opportunities, which I said at the beginning. That being said, let's look at the cards and see what they have to say. So I'm going to start with the one that volunteered itself, which was the wolf card. When I was putting the cards back to the side, this one flipped out of the deck. So, and we can see right there, family is overprinted on this one. And so kind of finding your spiritual pack or tribe is part of that. This, like I said, is a card of being at home, or taking care of your family, or taking care of that. So some of you want to focus on familial healing or developing this sort of newfound family. So the older you get, and I'm in that category where like your family has passed on, what I really consider my family now are all of my close friends, whether they're from high school or college or career, or people that I've just met and hung out with for the past 20 years. You get to have just as close a bond with them as you would, and usually closer than you would with many blood relatives. So that can be your spiritual family, or your sort of like friend family. And maybe this is a period of time where you want to develop and focus on that a little bit more. You can find your tribe, okay? It's sometimes I think, genetic and sort of DNA families are, what's the best word? They're not all they're chalked up to be, right? And so you can get so much more from just friends sometimes. So don't feel like it's back to this. You're not the orphan. You can find a new spiritual family for those of you that are feeling like the outsider. Okay? Focus on that in this period of time. Now let's look at the one that came through and it was reversed. We have Thicket of Thorns, just so that they could do some tongue twisting here. And it says uncertainty. So this card, if we were to reverse it, is really about trusting and being more certain and more confident. But I talked a lot about the roses and the thorns or the prickles, and it's kind of, you've got to get through that difficult period, but it's typically worth it. We see the sun filtering through, the sun representing your solar plexus, your higher calling, your ego as well, just saying, I can do this. So you can do this, but there is a little bit of that uncertainty coming through. And anytime you start or end something, I think it's natural to have that uncertainty as well. And yeah, if you missed the Wolf Moon reading that I did, it's actually on my main channel page. Just go and look. You'll see it under the featured videos or the celestial videos. I have a bunch of playlists. It'll be under the live ones too. It's just 2 or 3 videos ago. Okay. All right. Let's focus now on general health messages. And the biggest thing that I'm going to look at here is it feels like some of you had a close call or a wake-up call. So maybe you went to the doctor and they were like, you need to change this or else it's not a good trajectory. You might have lost someone that was near and dear, or you might have just had a series of really big changes. This is major. This is major. This is major. This is major. So it's sort of like you're on the heels of one change after another. The good news is you're trending in the right direction. At the center is change for the better, and we have the guidance that I said before, and we have a really good card at the end. So it's a little bit shaky and uneasy as maybe you're listening to the reading, but the outcome is good. And so like with any wake-up call in health and in life, it's basically what you garner from the experience that matters. So just do your best and kind of like try to kind of get your footing, which we saw with the Temperance Angel. Literally, that kind of sums up my last year. I had a series of major life changes, and I got through it, but it was just a day at a time, a week at a time, a month at a time. I tried not to overthink it too much. I just kept on trying to see like, well, what would be the next thing that I focus on? How can I deal with this? You kind of compartmentalize the energy of change so it doesn't feel like this, like it's uncontrollable. And slowly you get yourself to the top. I had a vision when I was going through it, and I'll share it with you because it might help. But I saw myself having to kind of like pull myself up from a cliff. I was walking, and then all of a sudden I found myself at this precipice, and a family member in spirit just said, you're gonna do this, but you're gonna have to do this on your own. So keep on keeping on. And so I did, and it worked out. But we are our own best agents of change. And sometimes you have to do that final pull yourself to the top. And it feels like you're very close. Don't give up. That's the message that I'm seeing when I look at all of these. Okay. So heed the warning signs, and also lean into the energy of change, because something bigger and better awaits you. Change is uncomfortable, but it's worthwhile. Okay. The other thing here with these two, this is, again, I would love for many of you to kind of look at your environments. Can it be cleared? Does it still serve you? Do you want or need to move? Something in the environment needs to be cleared, cleansed, or changed. This can be redecorating too, or renovation. All of those things are supported by these cards. Let's see what else is coming through. Balance has been a common theme over this month as I've been reading cards. So this is about finding your footing. Take a look at your shoes. Are they old? One of the things that I had to do, I don't have them on today because I have my rainy day shoes, but I had to get some really new ones because of my healing foot. It's almost like a 1.5 to 2 inch heel. It's a special brand that's kind of new, and it was very comfortable, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is all I want to wear now because there's so much support and so much padding. So take a look at your shoes and make sure that they're really supporting you, and make sure that when we talked about the foundations in the house, what are your kind of habits in your life? Like, how comfortable is your bed? How much are you sleeping? What are you eating? What are you putting into your body to create this firm foundation as well? That's going to be important because something there may need to shift for some of you. Otherwise, I like what I see, folks, and I do see an ability to come back. Some challenges, some changing, some stagnation, but this ability to reach higher and to push through, okay? So by and large, pretty good, folks, and I'm happy with what I'm seeing here for health. All right, let's move on to wealth, career, and basically, what you're learning in this moment. If you happen to be retired, wealth still matters. It's your wealth management. And when I look at career, it can be activities. So sometimes I get complaints in the comments. I would just say, just frame it up into like what you're spending your time in. So let's look here. Guess what? We have change, which is just another version of this. It's so much more fun to see the word transformation, right, than death, but it's the same. This is just the other side of it. This is what death wishes you could see when it comes into your life to help you move through something. It's like, it's going to feel good. This is what you feel like when you've reached the finish line of a marathon. And the same thing happens when you go through a really pivotal change in your life. You're like, oh, we got through that. I don't know how, but we did it. And I'm so happy, and it was so worth it. So the push right now in finances, in career, and in extracurriculars, just to kind of cover all the bases here for the different types of engagements for work and energy. It's basically saying it's time to move on. Something isn't what it needs to be, or it's time to move up to the next level. So as long as you're able to change, as long as you're still learning something from an experience, it serves you. But there's still going to be opportunity to adjust. There is no way to avoid death, world, tower, and judgment. Something has to, and another version of it here. So I feel like, again, if you tuned into my reading today and you were thinking, Nicholas, should I leave my job? Should I move on to this? So you've made up your mind about what the change needs to be. All you need to figure out is the how. So I see it's a yes for there's a necessary shift. Now what you want to do is make sure that you have saved enough money, that you have the next opportunity lined up for yourself. Foundations are important. We don't want to just jump and kind of end up in this, middle zone with no net. We want to create the net. And you want to look around and see, have I missed something? Is there something that's been, or someone that's been waiting for me all along? Because the typical ace, not the ace, but the Four of Cups has an ace in it. And so that it's nicely connecting to that page card too. And it's sort of saying, how about this? So I think some of you, there's just this wake-up call to look at what's going on around you and think, have I really been paying attention? Or have I sort of missed something that's been right there in front of me? It's obvious to everyone else but you. We've all had a situation where you can see it, but someone else can't. So if you look at the traditional Four of Cups, we can see the floating ace, but he's not ready to receive the ace yet. You have to be like this page, ready to pick up the ace and say, okay, let's try it. And I think that's the main thing here, is it may not be the obvious. So if you want to make a change, what the change opportunity wasn't what your heart and head thought it would be, but it may be exactly what you need, and it may be something better than you expected. So it's just about keeping an open mind with respect to that. As I said at the beginning, I see a lot of lessons learned here. I see this ability to jump from the Eight of Pentacles to the Queen, but that literally requires going through a different door. And I like the new door rather than the old door. So keep looking. I see there's an opportunity on the horizon for you. It should be more amicable for you and for the other person. It should be mutually beneficial when you find that. It could require moving to a different country, state, or province. It could require changing your trajectory or title, or for those of you in school, your major. And for those of you that are retired, you may want to do more traveling. You may want to downsize. You may want to change what you're spending your time and your energy in. Something has to shift significantly in the course of this year. This can represent the whole year, so you can take your time getting there, but it's all been laid out. And once you're there, you're like, why did I wait so long? Nicholas was right. I should have just sort of like stepped into the energy of change, okay? So to summarize, it's all about changing it up, moving it around. I like that you're moving towards the Queen of Pentacles. It should be more fulfilling, more sort of self-enriching. And if you're not feeling challenged, utilized, or enriched by the experience, look for something else. Okay, I feel like I've spoken as much as I need to on that. Let's move now into the energy of love and relationships. We have Charity coming through, and it says prayer, contemplation, connect with heaven, ask and you shall receive. Okay, so Charity is a really nice energy, beautiful colors on this too. Kind of all of these, it's basically reminding me of crown chakra energy, and I'm really looking at all the roses on her crown as well. So do you feel where you're, like when we're looking at your friendships, your family, your contracts, any sort of business relationships, that you are supported, that they have your best interest, that they want the best for you? If not, what we're looking at right now is an opportunity to call in a higher partnership here. And the universe is saying, what is it that you want? What are you looking for? If you don't like what you have, what do you want? So this is really a kind of connection of the Two of Wands and the High Priestess. Envision and open up and look for this around you. Because typically once you've made your mind, it's just about tuning into the channel. So it's almost like a hidden path would magically open up, like the trees would disappear and you would see a path that was always in front of you. But the universe is going to hide it until you're kind of ready for it. So it wants you to be more specific. If you're looking for love, specificity is key too. Kindness is going to get you a lot further than kind of being difficult, acrimonious. So that's another piece to this. Let's break it down on 3 different levels and we'll get some more insights. We're going to look at those of you that are currently in a relationship, those of you that are looking for love, and those that are single, and single and happy, to be specific, okay? And I'm just looking at the comments here. Whoever said no more major changes. Well, have you ever thought of like cool changes? Walking down the street, your heart skips a beat because you meet someone that you haven't seen in a while, or you meet the love of your life. You play lotto and you win. You want to find the perfect pet and you look at a rescue and it's the first dog that you see or the first cat that you see. Change can be good, folks. Don't feel like change is bad. I'm just pausing for a second because you're programming the change energy to be contrary or difficult. Open yourself up to be supported. Open the change to be a good surprise, something beneficial. If you've been listening to what I've been saying the whole time, I said it's change for the better. It's already happened and it's just waiting for you to accept it. So whenever communication happens, and sometimes it's from spirit, I remember a great English professor, he did this diagram and he said, like, here's the message, here's the receiver, and there's noise in the middle. What you just put there were like, it was noise. You're putting noise that, no more changes, no. Because literally you said, oh no, more major changes, no. I would say, oh yes, let's bring on some positive. Let's bring on the abundance. So just let go of the feeling of fear. And it's really normal. And I'm not kind of like singling you out. I'm saying it because I think a lot of people see death, tower, world, judgment, and freak out. It's the order in which they appeared that was important. And you have judgment, which is a second chance or a rebirth. And it's the end card, so it's good. All the changes are for the better. So I just want to say it one last time because it didn't get through to the collective here, okay? Now I have to focus on what I was saying because that distracted me. Oh yeah, we're looking at those of you in a loving relationship. So we'll start with those in love first. And again, the order is in love, looking for love, single and happy. If you're in love, there are two distinct paths, but one is more distinct to me than the other. So I always like to look at it assuming things are great, but I'm going to start with the ones that are ready to move on because it's all over here. So if you're ready to make a fresh start, maybe your partner has passed into spirit. That's part of this. So the death, the world, the tower, and the judgment card, some of you lost someone that you loved a lot. This may not be marriage for some of you. This could be parent, child, sister, brother, someone that was close, and you just love them unconditionally. So it's coming up in the love reading. Here's the cool thing. They're with you. They're guiding you. They're the temperance angel. And they understand how hard it is. And, maybe the communication can't be two ways like it was before, not all the time, but they're guiding you. So I wanted to put that message out there first. Some of you are ready to move on from an unhealthy or an unsupportive environment or relationship. This isn't just marriage. This could be a work or a partnership sort of vibe. And it's for the best too. So the change was out of your control, and I'm acknowledging that. And it's now just saying for the best. It's for the best. Something ended before you even had a chance to maybe realize it, and the decision may have been out of your hands. So someone else may have said, I want to move on, and you're maybe holding on for a second. Or you're wondering, like, I know I need to go, but like, is there anything else to do? I see a very obvious path for some of you that it's time to move on. So the partnership is going beyond marriage. It's actually just a core soul contract. And I see both of you moving in a good direction. Two angels at the top. You're still partners, but one's moving in a different direction than the other, okay? Whether in spirit or in life, we have the two angels and they're free. Angels fly, they're free. You're getting your footing right now, okay? Now, for those of you in a loving relationship that want to stay in the relationship, let's read it that way. There's a lot going on. So there could have been a birth. Believe it or not, world, death, tower, and judgment. You could have just had a baby coming into your life. Major life changes. It's going to require a new set of rules and a new foundation for the marriage. So that's one piece of advice. Some of you are dealing with a family member that's passed away and you have to support each other, or someone that's sick, or something major. So this is a time where you lean on each other even more. The relationship can grow. You can deepen your love. One of you needs to ask for help and be willing to receive it. And then the relationship kind of moves into a bigger and a different zone. So like when we first fall in love with somebody, there's this feeling of just, you kind of get lovesick. It's fun. It's your heart, it's your head. It's just feels, right? But as you start to go through the phases of life. You move in with each other. There's love, there's loss, there's difficulty. Then it merges beyond the carnal, beyond the emotional, to a soul contract, into this deeper love. And so some of you are going through those pillars of life, and you have the staying power. If you can make it through the current sort of cycle of events, then you've found a really great soul partner. So this isn't just an easy read because we got like all of the major arcana cards. There's a big moment and you're choosing, are you in or are you out? Okay. And it's going to be okay either way, folks. It's just a choice for you. If you're in, you're really in, and it's going to be like a forever partner. If you're out, there's something better waiting for you on the horizon. Okay. Now let's look at those of you that are single and looking. I actually think it's a good time to be single and looking because there's so many. And I think it's even better to be single and happy. But if you're single and looking, first things first, let the dust settle. I've been saying this a lot, but you for sure, you might have just moved into a new place and you're finding that new spiritual family. You're like, I feel like the outsider. I just moved into apartment complex. Apollo, who's now in the other room, he's a great way to start conversations. I get to meet immediately, usually within days or weeks, all the dog owners. I learn all the dog names first, but then eventually I learn the residents. So people start conversations because of Apollo, or we'll talk about the weather, or they see me walking down the hall and they're like, oh, you're the person that moved in. So that's part of it, is just sort of like introducing yourself, being social and connecting. And it takes time, a few months, up to a year to really feel plugged in. Thankfully, I'm in a place where I've lived before, but not when you move to different places in the same city. It changes you got to still have to start over. So I get it. So some of you are just moving in and you need to let the dust settle because this is moving. Some of you are feeling like I haven't found where I want to be yet. So figure out what you want first, what you want in career, what you want in your living situation, and maybe what you want in love. All right. If you got all of that sorted, you have a karmic partnership on the horizon, folks, because death and judgment, that's past life. You got like a double whammy for that. So, and 2 angels, past life. So really 3, but 2 angels coming through saying, all right, are we both ready? Have we learned what we need to? Have we made the changes? This angel's just about change. But I see 2 past life connections. The karma here really is about not being overly defensive and not pushing the moment, just kind of having fun and going with it. I definitely see chemistry, but the person may not be exactly what you thought, or they could take you by surprise because you're focusing on all this stuff and they come marching in and you're like, oh, careful what you wish for. I've been looking for that, but gosh, I got all this other stuff that I'm juggling. Take care of yourself, be open to this, take it one step at a time. Could be a water sign coming into your life, but it looks good to me, folks. I definitely get karmic energy here, soulmate energy. All right, if you're single and happy, you're very nicely positioned. There's so much opportunity and change that actually to be tethered or to be connected to someone could limit some of the potential. So it's good if you're single and happy. I see opportunities for travel. There could be new and exciting developments opening up for you. It's going to be rapid. There'll be things that change, things that fall away, and things that open up. So don't let one day define the month. Every day is going to be a little bit different. And I definitely see an improvement in financial wealth and just general well-being as well. Okay. And it is what you make of it. This is true for everybody and for any part of this reading. And that's why I paused to kind of like correct or just kind of like underline what I was saying about the change. What do you want? How do you see it? How ready are you? And judgment, your judgment and your opinion really helps formulate all the changes. But again, for anyone that's still looking at all the cards thinking, oh my God, angel, 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 you've got a lot of guidance as you go through all of these changes. All right, let's look at your destiny card for today. And we have, guess what? Another angel, Seraphim's Gateway, voice activation, angelic attunement, divine support. I'm not nervous for you at all, Cancer. I'm kind of excited for you to see where the energy of change comes through. So Seraphim, again, angelic. And all I see in this is feathers and light. So as we're looking at destiny, it's a big opening, a gateway. Looking at the 3 messages here, I mentioned voice. It like legitimately was one of the slides here. So let's revisit that one. This says voice activation and angelic attunement, divine divine support. But let's look at the voice piece one more time. I was talking about how it's interesting that mice are small and mice are sort of quiet. And sorry, wrong button here. Okay, so here we go. It represents all things small. And I literally said the world was going to be what this was all about this month. And so use your voice, think big, take action, and be seen. So that's really what this is all about right now. Speaking from integrity, speaking from the heart as well. It's kind of exciting for me. Like, I think that you can just use what you see in the cards are reinforcements, but a lot of what I saw in the totem, I got it all from just looking at a mouse this morning. So you can get your guidance just from looking within. The cards frame it. They help me see all the pieces, but a lot of what I talked about came through in the reading, which is kind of cool here. Particularly this. So speak up, speak out, and trust. Believe in what you're saying. You want to infuse confidence in your voice. That's going to help. There's a big difference between, people that kind of talk like this. And then if you push it out there with a little bit more strength, you have to kind of like, when I speak, I'm pulling from crown, third eye, throat, and solar plexus. It's a lot of energy kind of going through the throat. Sometimes the throat itself is on a kind of like its own journey. So for those of you that are mediums, you know what I'm talking about. It's sort of like, I'm here and this is working, but it's more like it's coming from spirit through my throat. That's kind of how I work on some of these readings. And then I have to go back and look at them too, because I'm tired after this too. Like yesterday I had to take a nap. These readings take a lot of energy. But the throat is a really powerful projection for you. Don't underestimate it. Plug in and really allow it to come from crown, third eye, and I'm getting solar plexus for you as well. And this is going to help the strength of the message really kind of have more punch to it. Let's take a look at the big idea. Big idea is a single card that can help you stay on track. That's the succinct version of that. Two of Cups. We like that. All right. So you're not alone. I mean, this is the answer to the orphan. So you find a new family. The orphan again was reversed. It's saying, I feel like I need to seek someone or something else where I can be myself. Interestingly enough, if I'm correct, the Taj Mahal is a mausoleum. It's definitely got a connection to someone who's passed on. It's another vibe of death and rebirth and remembering things. So even this is karmic too, as I'm looking at it. It's very much the two angels in front of a symbol of death and rebirth. So I feel like it's someone new and someone old. So there's a new partnership or opportunity coming through. And you know I'm not someone that harps on love, but it's coming through, so I'm saying it here. There's someone marching into your life that you've known before. It looks positive to me, and it looks like something good will come out of that. It could be a friend, it could be a pet, it could be a lover, but this is someone who's going to give you some support through this next phase so you don't feel so alone, okay? All right, let's move on to blessings and blocks. Something that will elevate and help, something to be mindful of. For the blessing, we have the Eight of Wands, and that's a good blessing card. For the block, we have Strength reverse. For some of you, that's fatigue or exhaustion. So let's break these messages down. All right. Don't get in your head too much. The Eight of Wands can be just about all the things going on around you. Let's look at this upright just so we can soak in the illustration. By the way, thanks for choosing this deck. This is a beautiful deck. I like it. And I had to pull this out of my boxes this morning. I'm unpacking a box at a time and trying to rotate things in. So with the Eight of Wands, a lot of times, first of all, it indicates success. All those wands are opportunities and work and just good things going on around you. What happens in that sometimes is we feel lost in the shuffle. It's sort of like, okay, going this way, going that way. I feel like parents can relate to this the most because your identity is split between parent, partner, husband or wife, and you, person. So parent, partner, and person. It's like it's not just two versions, it's like three versions of yourself. And then not even talking about the version of yourself that's still like, son or daughter or brother or sister. Like there's all these things you should listen to the weekend reading about diamonds. And it's sort of like you're showing all these facets. So remember, you don't have to have all the facets showing at once. Sometimes you can surprise people and you're like, I'm not just this, I'm also this. So I feel like the important thing here is to remember that you have more sides to you than you realize and others realize. You can slow down and ask for help. This is a card of community, but you can get in your head a little bit thinking it's all me and I got to run all of this and manage all of this. The Seven of Wands initially came through to teach you the lesson that that's not the best sort of approach. You want to delegate, you want to let go of stuff, you want to focus on what matters. But ultimately, it's a good card. It tells me you're going to have, for those of you that own a business or are trying to make progress, things will pick up and it will be predictable and you're going to have a nice cadence to that. But it's a blessing also in disguise on some levels, because look at how active the brain is. You're sometimes overthinking or trying to find a rhyme and a reason to everything. So just go with the flow, ask for help, connect with people around you, and remember, you have many sides to your personality and you can surprise people with that. Here's your challenge. Take care of yourself, please. You could be exhausted and burning the candle at both ends. So this card was saying nurture your body, your person, your spirit, and this is doing the same. Part of the exhaustion could come from the lion in your life. So the traditional card, which we're going to pull here because it tells the story a little bit better. I like what we see with this one. This is sort of like the solution, but let's look at the challenge that the traditional strength card shows. It's basically saying you can get your way, you can make things happen, but it requires a great deal of effort, and it may not be sustainable effort in the long run. So you want to kind of like really decide, is it worth it, whatever this might be in your life. So we see her going to the lion here and putting her hands in the mouth and controlling it. A lot of times, guess what this indicates is someone that's coming in and trying to get you to agree to say something that you don't agree with. It may be you trying to get someone to say yes when they're not ready to say yes, whether it's love or a contract. It's not worth it, because all the way along the line, you're going to have to continue to struggle to get them to do what you want to do, because they never really wanted to do it in the beginning. So if someone isn't interested in you and what you have to offer, whatever, find someone who is, because they do exist out there. And that was kind of the big idea, was that there is someone that will see you eye to eye. And this is a non-struggle version of strength. We see both energies, divine masculine and feminine, cooperating, collaborating, not struggling. This deck was designed, well over 100 years ago. So the idea that you have to sort of have these two energies battling is old, right? I can't remember if it was like 1800s or 1900s, but it's old. And tarot in general is even much older than that. So some of these themes no longer apply, which is why I always love to read with a different deck. And this is saying, why does it have to be win or lose? And why does it have to be divine masculine versus divine feminine? And why should you have to control what someone says? You can do it, but you shouldn't have to. And that's the message with that, okay? So remember, we're using archetypes and symbols that have been used for a while. That's why I work with so many decks. It's great to see modern interpretations of them. And I always keep the traditional one here so we can compare and contrast. If you ever wonder why I do that, because there are certain things it tells better. And there are also, when I see a choice in illustration, a change, I'm like, let's pay attention to the change. We don't have to have the control piece there anymore. But ultimately, this can also be taken at face value, which is, are you tired? Are you exhausted? Are you spending all your time and energy trying to control and work with other people? If so, focus on yourself. And that's that. Let's move on to viewers and readers' choices. Let me take a drink of water for this one, and then we'll move into this. Okay, so I usually like to go with the most challenging. Today, it's not cut and dry because they're all big cards today, aren't they? I'm going to look at change, since that caused some reaction in chat. So I'm going to look at death because of all the cards. I think the two that trigger, there are three that probably trigger people the most. And I would say it's death, the devil, and the tower. And we got a couple. So I'll look at death because it's misunderstood the most, and it opens the most doors. So I'll choose that one, and I'm going to give you a choice to figure out what you want me to look at. And there's so many exciting things today that I have no idea which one you're going to choose. All right, so let's see what's going on here. So for some of you, it could be cleaning up the messes. So cleaning up the messes, aka tower energy. For some of you, it could be reinvention, aka judgment. Some of you may want to look on self-improvement, aka Queen of Pentacles. And let's see if there's a third option here. They're all good today. Tough choices. Oh, moving on, moving up, moving out, the world. Moving on, up, out. Why do I think it's going to be a four-way tie? All right, choose what you will. If there are ties of any sort, I'll look at them. In the meantime, I'm going to look at the energy of transformation. It came through twice too. So what is asking to be transformed? What's your opportunity in this moment? Et cetera, et cetera. Let's see what's coming through. Five of Swords. Okay. This will give us some stuff to talk about while you do that. All right. So the Five of Swords. It is reversed, but let's look at it in the upright position. This is a really cool illustration for Five of Swords. So what you see is it's basically, the cool thing is it's not necessarily you that is doing the Five of Swords energy, but it is sort of like how it feels to be in the circle of this sort of difficult conversation. Five of Swords indicates someone who isn't ready to receive the conversation that you want to give. So there could be feedback that is necessary for healing, for development, for change, specifically for change since we're clarifying death. So what I see is a dead-end conversation. They don't want to hear it and they get defensive. And we can see either you or them kind of opening up your eyes and just kind of like all these activations happening. So the best thing to do in the Five of Swords is typically to move on. It's one of the few where it just says, go in another direction. You can't save this. You can't solve it. And, you know, we were talking about strength reversed. It's a waste of time and energy. I'll look at the traditional card here so we can see what's going on. You'll see a couple people in the background. I know what it looks like. A couple people in the background and they're exhausted. And there's one person in the foreground and they're kind of having a good time. Let's see. We got the 7. And by the way, the 7 and the 5 are typically like cousins. Where I see one, I see the other. They're kind of like mice. Let me just look one more time because it's hiding like the 5 would hide. But what I would say with this one is really think about moving in a different direction. And if someone tries to also push your buttons, here it is, which is a piece of that, you can just think to yourself, you know what? I've been down this road before. It's not worth it. They're just going to keep, it's like a kid in the back seat that just wants to keep saying, but why? And how about this? And they're just kind of cranky. So here we see the people in the background and they're over it. And the person in the foreground is having a good time and kind of feeding energetically off of this. And so if you know someone or something in your life and you can tell that they kind of enjoy the argument, don't do it. Don't give them a rise. Even if you're right, even if you know you can prove that you're right, not today, not in this moment, find a different way to do it, or just move on. And that's really what I see here as an opportunity to move on. Now, this is also the inner voice that we have sometimes that is self-sabotage. And sometimes we do or say things in order to create that chaos. So don't self-sabotage. Walk away from people that don't want to listen. And this is definitely tied to places of work for some of you. If you know how to improve something or a relationship, if someone's not being accountable and they don't want to hear it, focus on something else. It's not worth it. And the person, this can also be the person, they feel like it's like you're attacking them sometimes. They're not listening. They're going immediately into defense mode. And they're like, it's, you know, and you might just be saying, no, I think we can work through this, but this has to change. And all they hear is this has to change and you're not enough. And so that's the message with that. Okay, let's see what you chose for me. All right, moving on, moving up, moving out. Really cool one. That's the World, which is basically a very good one to look at because it's in the deep past here. So it's basically the big opportunity that wants to come through and seems like it's going to. So let's see how we can lean into moving on, moving up, moving out. Expansion, basically, is how I could have put that as well. Ace of Wands. Very cool. Okay, so for this card here, we basically see the phoenix rising from the ashes, which is this. So the moment you basically put some energy into something that you feel passionate about, or just go and say, I believe I can, let's do this, things start to go in a really positive direction. Whatever you do next, you need the flame, you need the spark. So if it's a relationship and you don't feel it on the first date, don't go for a second date. If it's a job interview and you don't get a good vibe, either like if it's remote and you're talking to someone, you're like, I don't think I could, that can't be my boss. I can't work with that person. Or you go in person and you look around and you think there's something about this place that I don't like. Also, anywhere that you're going and you don't feel 100% or at least that intrigue, like, yeah, let's do this. I want you to feel excited for the next big change. And then if you have a good idea, you have to fan the flame a little bit. So we see that he's feeding the fire, she's feeding the fire here, and the phoenix is rising. So put some figurative wood on the fire and say, all right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to focus on this, I'm going to create this, and this is where I'm putting my energy. And keep feeding it, because for any of you that, I mean, it's been a long time. I have a gas fireplace in the other room, and it's a lot easier. You just flick a switch. But I remember as a kid, we had a wood fireplace, and you had to like crumple up paper and put things in, and then you had to kind of get the right amount of air and whatever. It was hard to start a fire. And that's with like modern things. We're not even talking like flint and all of that. So it takes a little bit of time to initiate the spark, but once everything's okay, then it's just a maintenance. Then you just keep putting a log on one at a time, and you can keep the same fire going for a few days. So this is representing the challenge of the initial spark and the challenge of things taking root or taking shape and form. And then once that happens, it's maintainable. So the message here is don't move without the spark, and don't give up if you have to try a few times to get the first spark. And then once it's there, it's maintainable. That's the main thing that I'm picking up on here. But it should be in alignment with what your thinking is, because wands are thoughts. So do the people around you recognize, support, or encourage free thinking? Do you feel like you can express and or be yourself there? Does this kind of like get you excited, mind, body, and spirit? And if it doesn't, on at least 2 or 3 of those levels, why are you doing it? That's the main thing. But I feel like this next big thing could be exciting on multiple levels. So I encourage you, if you're feeling those sort of connections, to go for it. All right, folks? All right, let's see. We're going to move on now to sun, rising, and moon messages. This is going to help you connect a little bit deeper if you're watching, cross-watching for sun, rising, or moon. So let's go ahead now and give the cards a shuffle. Sun, rising, moon. Beginning with sun sign messages. So very appropriate, again, to be happening on the heels of a retrograde in particular, as we're looking at February. We have the 8 of Cups. It's all about expansion in this. And for some of you, you've already made the decision to move on. And the 8 of Cups opens the door to always go back if you need to. So some of you want to basically leave that bridge, leave that connection open, and that's okay. You never know when you're going to run into someone again. This is also saying for some of you that really want this to be a surefire stop, a full stop, a no, I don't want this anymore. You're not being clear enough, is what I would say with the 8 of Cups in reverse. It's saying that people may not catch the hint, and sometimes it's better to simply say, I am not interested. So this happens like with a telemarketer. You don't want to say, oh, call back another time, because they'll call back and they think you're interested. Also, you wouldn't want to say, well, I don't know, or maybe. You just say, take me off the call list, leave me alone. Or you don't answer. You just move on. You give a clear message that this isn't it. If you're dating someone and you're not feeling it, say that sooner than later. Just say, I really enjoyed the date. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm not feeling the spark, but, thank you. That's it. Don't even say, maybe we can hang out, or just say, thank you. I'm not feeling the spark. And that's going to free you both up. Same thing for a job. If you go for an interview and if there's something that's not right, say, maybe if this were different, but it's not, and I want more, move on. So that's basically what we see here, is an opportunity to be clearer in what you, and it can also just be in expectations, like what you want, but this is a cycle of clarity that's kind of coming through on that. But ultimately, look what's awaiting you. Jupiter is all about expansion, and expansion in the best ways. So I feel like you have some really cool, expansive things on the horizon. You may need the security blanket for a little bit to feel like, well, if it doesn't work, I can always go back to this. But there'll come a point where maybe, and this happened to me, by the way, like I quit a job, and then maybe it was a year or year and a half later, I got a text from somebody saying, hey, we have a project. And I said, you know what? Maybe like 6 months after I left, I could have said yes, but I'm too busy now. And they said, good for you. And that was it. And I never heard from them again. But I just basically said, I appreciate it. It's cool that you're still thinking of me, but I don't have time anymore. So that's the best thing that you can do. And that's what could happen. There could be, you leave the door open for a little bit, but when you're finally ready, that's going to help you then expand even more, because you can focus all of your energy on Jupiter. All of it can be on the expansion instead. All right. So that is for Cancer Sun. Let's look at Cancer Rising. So in Rising and Ascendant, it's all about the vocal stuff that I talked about. We have Queen of Swords in reverse. She gets to the point. She speaks her mind. She's ready. She's confident, and she's succinct. And if you can embrace any number of those things, one of them alone will help you out. You're going to be in a good place. Swarming around her are a bunch of butterflies, if you wanted to see. So we'll take the graphic off for a second. So there's all these butterflies around her, and she's speaking what? Words of change. And that really is in alignment with what we saw coming through here, because death was crossing the center. Tower reversed, again, more change. Big movements. So this is saying what you want, how you want, when you want it. Clarification, also coming through here for Rising and Ascendant. And righting a wrong. She's a lot like Justice. So there could be something that you see in your life, because we talked about the Seven of Swords or the Five of Swords. And you could just say, this doesn't work. This doesn't work for me. This isn't right. We need to change it. And that's it. She doesn't feel the need to, and I'm going to listen to her, to say too much. And that's really the main message here, is speak your mind, be succinct. And the only thing that I would kind of add to that is imagine what it would be like to receive it. So always be constructive and supportive in the way that you deliver it, but you don't have to sugarcoat. You just have to be sort of like appropriate in timing and tone. Okay? Let's focus now on Moon. I'm looking at the DEVA, the sort of goddess-like energy on this one, because she reminds me of, like a diva, but not like a diva, DEVA, a multi-handed sort of like goddess. Like you see this in Eastern religions a lot. So first of all, I love the Queen of Wands, and I specifically love this one. So it's saying that you're going to kind of be asked to be many places at once, many things at once. You can do this, but you don't want to do something that isn't authentic to yourself. So multitasking is the easiest way to summarize this. So you're going to be asked to multitask. You can do that. You're going to show a few facets of yourself. It's going to bode well. But what you don't want to do is water down vision, voice, or purpose. So if somebody comes through and says, add this, add that, especially to like a creative thing, and after a while, you're like, it loses its shape and form. It's almost like, a piece of clothing. So let's just imagine you have a basic black dress and it looks amazing. But people are like, okay, but you need to put a belt here, and then let's add some sparkles here, and then let's change the... Pretty soon it gets cluttered and it loses its form. Sometimes just something simple is best. So try not to add too much. This is more about you multitasking and showing people that you're not a one-trick pony. That's good. But don't throw the kitchen sink at solutions. And so all of these different arms can also come back together and say, no, wait, we need to simplify this. You're the voice of reason, you're the vision, and you want to stand firm with that. And the Queen of Wands would always do that. Okay. So I like the multifaceted and sort of like dimensional energy that we have with that. But there also can be the risk of putting the kitchen sink at something. So know the difference and know that you're going to rise to the occasion right now. The Moon sign, this will come through in relationships and also like as a hidden sort of secret sauce that you have, and people are like, oh my God, I didn't know that you could do this, this, and this. So that's a common theme that seems to be coming up today, and I like it. All right, folks, let's see where we're at and see what's left here. So we've gone through the major components of today's reading. We have one triplicate of things that are left here. We're going to start with a meditation, sound bath, and then I'll look at a final question that you have. I try my best in this to kind of almost to the point of probably going too long of looking at all the different angles, but we all have at least one thing that we tuned in for. And so as a bonus for people that watch the whole reading, I pull a final card and we look at that question. So write it down right now, or put it in your phone, or just hold it in your head. We're going to meditate. It's easy today because it's all about change. What we're going to focus on today, it's also pretty clear. I want us to go into the energy of the phoenix, rising up from the ashes here, or this sort of like reincarnation energy here. So position yourself in such a way that you're comfortable. Plan to be here for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're going to look at that final card. Okay. Before I do that, by the way, do me a favor, like, subscribe, opt into the bell notifications if you haven't already, because I know once we meditate, it's hard to remember that. All right. Imagine, if you will, that you're in front of a campfire. And imagine, if you will, as well, that you have your spiritual family there with you. I like to sort of see the 3 angels around the fire with you. So we have the temperance angel, helping you find your footing. We have the angel of transformation, maybe to your right side. And then to the left side, we have the Archangel Gabriel, judgment. So between temperance, between Azrael, or death and rebirth, and then Gabriel, you have this sort of holy trinity of energy. Imagine that it's actually, you're in the center. And as the angels hold hands around you, or as they kind of extend their wings, there's this beautiful, bright, white, fiery energy at the center. And it's kind of like holy sort of energy and holy fire, your own sort of sacred fire. Let's use that so there's no religious connotation. So we have these angelic beings around. Their angel wings are protecting you and creating this sort of triangular shape. And there is this beautiful, again, spiritual fire. And it's coming from you, by the way. It's not from an external source. So it's the fire of your heart and your soul. And it's burning bright white. And it's kind of reaching out in all directions, all dimensions. And if you follow any one of those rays of light from your own sort of spiritual fire, your soul fire, what you can see is a path and a reason, and a rhyme and a reason. So if there's something that needs to be healed, look into that and allow the light and the healing power to go there, and to release the karma, the trauma, and the sadness, and just pull with it the lessons and pull it back into your heart. If there's been a path of difficulty in career or in relationship, the same sort of thing. See the lessons, release the partner, release the experience, and pull that back into your heart. And now open up a channel of growth, because that's what it's all about. And imagine that you're face to face with the angel of transformation, and it's kind. It's a beautiful angel. It's a lot closer to what you see with this one. And it's standing, receiving your energy, basically saying, yes, let's do this. Come give me a hug. And imagine that you're going to step forward and you're going to be embraced by the angel of transformation. So whatever it is that you need to see the healing in, the change or the growth in, you're going to then be embraced by that change angel, and you're going to be able to move into that change. That's all you have to feel, is like this big hug from the universe, and this beautiful, bright, white, clarifying light that's going to help you through the month ahead. Imagine now that you are standing with all of that sort of power and energy in your heart space. You're carrying with it the clarity, the vision, and basically the confidence to move forward in whatever the world has in store for you in the next month or so. Take a few deep breaths. Rub your hands together. Put them on your heart. And just exhale. Okay. Open your eyes if you haven't already. Focus on your final question for me. And let's just see what the universe has to say about that. So it's really about clarification, which is something that I already highlighted, but it's coming through one more time. This card came through reverse, but it's basically saying the sky's the limit. There's a very similar illustration for the moon card in the Afro Goddess deck where we see the ocean parting, basically. It's almost like a Moses type energy. If there was previously some sort of a block in your life, what I see is a new path. And we talked about that even with this one here. So we see a path that's opening up, that's clearing. And what it really depends upon is the clarity of what it is that you want. We even have a starfish here too, which is a very resilient totem, because if it loses one part of its leg, it can usually grow it back. So the card reverse is saying it's decision time. So the clearer you are, the more, again, kind of like what we saw with the Queen of Swords, clarity, being concise, being direct, all of these things are going to bode well and help the water, the waves sort of part, and it's going to help you see a path, even through something that you feel may normally be insurmountable or very difficult. You have a chance of moving through that, but you have to decide that you want it. You have to say, I want this, I'm ready for this, let's do this. So that's the important thing. If you're asking me a yes, no, you need more clarity. You're not ready. I would say get to the point, yes, but when you're ready, when you don't even have to ask me, that's the time to do it. Because the Seven of Cups, and it also is telling me that there's too many questions. So get the answers to your questions, get clear, and then be ready to say, this is what I stand for, this is what I want, full stop. Okay? All right. That was a very powerful reading. Just as powerful as a weekend collective. So I hope you enjoyed it. I would love for your assistance. If you like this today, when this goes on replay, do me a favor and let's see what the symbol would be today. We had world, we have little angels. You could put an angel in a world or something and tell me what it is that you want to move into. What's the big shift energetically? What are you leaving? What are you moving towards? Angels seem to be the common theme today because they were all over the place. So you are definitely guided into this new energy of change and movement. So yeah, it helps engagement. That's why I need comments. So hitting the thumbs up once, you can't do it more than once or then you unlike it. So one like, and then when it's on replay, one comment. And if you want to, you can also share it across social media platforms. So like and subscribe, share it. And thank you so much for also participating here. I'm going to take a couple moments here just to share some gratitude here. So let's see who the newest channel members are. While we're doing this, just a note on my schedule, I go live on Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. The time has shifted, like Sundays, it's always around 9, but during the week, I try to give myself enough time to feel rested. So sometimes that's 9 or 9:30, sometimes that's 10 or 10:45. So just keep an eye out, and that's why we want notifications on. I'm giving myself the ability to just be more flexible because I don't work strictly on a schedule. Like I'm a being with energy. So sometimes I want an extra hour. So I'm playing around with that. It seems to be okay this year. So just give me some flexibility on that, and definitely have the bell icon on so you can make sure you don't miss something. Okay. Let's go to memberships first. For memberships today, let's see if there are any new members that have joined this morning. Suzanne, thank you so much. New membership there. And I think everybody else was from the weekend, but I'll say them until I remember them. But we have Cyprian, the Cheerio 786, Cindy, Kay Santos, Monica, MC, Janet Fritz, Artemis, and yeah, everyone else I definitely remember from the weekend. So thank you to all of you. It's good to have you here, whether you're new or returning. You make all of this possible. And members get a chance to vote a couple of times and break ties on the weekends, and then sometimes ask me questions if I'm doing a special viewer's choice reading. Okay, let's see. For today, Kay Ross, thank you for kicking things off today and giving me a contribution. Jordan Gloss, Rachel Bruno, Leslie Billimer, I think it is. Thank you so much. Dolce Ramirez Daly, thank you. And Renee, thank you very much. Renee Barrow. I appreciate all of you today. I hope you enjoyed today's reading, and I wish you the very best in the energy both of the retrograde and also in February. February looks great. Yes, lots of movement and shifting, but I think for the better by and large. It's just that sort of internal acceptance, and also, as we looked at with the final card today, an understanding of what it is that you want and being ready and willing to say, this is what I need, this is what I stand for. All right, everyone, have a fantastic week ahead and month ahead, and thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Until I see you later this week, take care of yourself, and remember, I always do the one card reading, so I will be with you over the next couple of days as well. All right, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.